Millionaire discovers Maid humiliated heartwarming transformation revealed in 30 life-changing. Laura stood at the massive oak door of the Thompson estate, rain lashing down as storm clouds rumbled ominously above. Drenched, she raised a hand to knock, her heart pounding not just from the chill of the wind but also from the familiar anxiety of stepping into a world that often looked down on her. She was just the maid, after all. Her days were a blur of vacuuming, dusting, and organizing the lavish homes of families who seemed to thrive on watching her clean up their glittering lives. She gave it her all for her two bright-eyed kids, an unyielding passion masked behind a smile that rarely faltered in public. But within her, echoes of judgment from affluent residents resonated painfully, especially from Tom, the self-assured businessman at the top of the social ladder. Laura felt his eyes glide over her at community gatherings, a mere ghost in a world of shimmering riches. The storm raged that evening, each clap of thunder a reminder of her struggles. But as rainwater cascaded into the street, flooding homes, an undeniable electric charge filled the air. When the aftermath revealed a community in disarray, Tom stood stunned amid the chatter of frantic neighbors. At a hastily organized meeting, Laura mustered her courage to speak. "If we could work together, we can create a plan." "Oh please," Tom scoffed, rolling his eyes as if her words were just as useless as the muddy water pooling around them. The laughter of those nearby cut deeper than the freezing rain. Laura's cheeks burned in humiliation, stinging her pride. Yet within her, a flicker of defiance ignited. She was more than the cleaning lady, more than the maid they all were, struggling to make a better life. Determined, Laura gathered the other neighbors in the days that followed. Hesitant at first, they slowly recognized her grit and the insight only someone who has tackled real problems could possess. "Let us divide into teams, set priorities on what to fix first," she suggested, her heart racing as they began to listen, inspired by her unwavering resolve. As they worked side by side, she glimpsed Tom beyond his business persona. She saw the worn lines on his forehead, the tremor in his voice when he admitted his family was losing their grip on the lifestyle they portrayed. A tense confrontation ensued where Laura challenged Tom's beliefs about class, declaring proudly, "Just because we don't wear designer suits doesn't mean we lack value." The storm had washed away more than just homes, it stripped them of their facades, revealing shared humanity in its wake. Each moment of collaboration pushed boundaries, transforming them from neighbors to allies. Hope blossomed as they healed not just their homes but their prejudices too. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the community celebrated their recovery, Tom prepared to address everyone. Laura felt her heartbeat rise. Would he mention her efforts? The room fell silent as he began to speak, his voice shaky yet sincere. "Today, we acknowledge Laura for her incredible contributions." Her heart soared, but as he revealed a surprising offer, a chance to pursue her dream of starting a small business, doubt clawed at her. Could she trust him? Would she be stepping into something meant for someone else? The room held its breath, and so did she, wondering what her next move would be in a world that once cast her aside. Laura's heart raced as the eyes in the room turned to her, a mix of surprise and perhaps admiration flickering across faces she had often felt beneath. Tom's voice washed over her, but it was his gaze that held her captive. "Your creativity and resilience could benefit our community. Why not take this opportunity?" The words echoed, yet doubt clouded her thoughts. Could she really step into this unknown? Every failure she faced cut through her like the cold wind outside. In that moment, she felt like a child peeking into a candy store, longing but terrified to reach out. The chance of a lifetime dangled before her, but the weight of self-doubt pressed heavily on her shoulders. "Are you sure about this, Tom?" Laura's voice broke the silence, hesitant yet steady. The room murmured. She felt a spark of bravery. "Why do you think I'm worthy of this?" Tom took a breath, smoothing a hand over his cropped hair. "Because you've shown more leadership in a few days than I have in years. You unite people. They trust you." As he spoke, Laura's mind flicked through memories of her life, the long nights cleaning, the dreams she tucked away for her children's futures, the laughter she shared with neighbors over coffee. Suddenly, it all twisted into a single fierce flame of determination. Perhaps she could create something meaningful, something that blurred the lines between their worlds. Her voice was firmer now. "I appreciate your faith in me, but I want it to be about more than profit. I want to empower my community." She noticed nods from others, a wave of support washing soothingly through the air. Tom's eyes brightened. "That's exactly what I thought. We need to harness that passion. Together, I believe we can build something special." The applause that followed felt surreal. Laura stood, both disbelief and joy struggling for prominence. Faces that once appeared indifferent now glowed with hope. They were ready to follow her lead. Would she really take on this challenge? As the planning began, the ideas flowed like an unstoppable river. They talked about community gardens, local markets, and workshops that could teach vital skills. Laura felt a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in years. With each shared laugh and encouraging word, she was transforming, too. The woman who once hid in the shadows of others was stepping firmly into the light. But just as dreams began to take shape, a black cloud loomed on the horizon. A rumor started to swirl, whispers of unease among the townsfolk. Questions of loyalty flew around like angry wasps, exposing cracks in their newfound bond. Just when she thought unity was gaining ground, fear threatened to send them all tumbling back to their separate corners. "Laura, are you sure this is safe?" Someone asked during a meeting, eyes filled with doubt. Anguish crept into Laura's mind again. Could this opportunity slip away before it had truly begun? As the sun dipped below the horizon, a storm brewed inside her, far different from the weather they had endured. She could either lead them through it or watch them scatter into doubt. The support of her community felt incredible, yet the fear of losing it scared her more. How could she bridge this growing divide? She knew she had to remain steady and confident. The future depended on it. With a determined heart, Laura stood up once more. "Trust is our currency now. Together, we can turn this around." But would the community rally around her once more as darkness approached? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be revealed. The atmosphere in the room crackled with tension. Laura glanced around, feeling the weight of all those expectant eyes. Would they really trust her? Right now, she carried their hope and skepticism alike. She had to push through the doubts. "Listen," she began, her voice steadying as she locked eyes with a familiar face in the crowd. "Joanna, her oldest friend. I get that we're facing a lot right now. I understand the rumors. But we can't let fear dictate our choices. We must be brave together." Somewhere in the back, a gruff voice piped up, "But what if it all fails? What if we're wasting our time?" That question hung in the air like a heavy weight. People shifted nervously, exchanging glances. Laura's heart thudded loudly in her chest. She needed to meet this head-on. Failure? What if we do fail? What if we take this leap and it doesn't work? She paused, letting her words resonate. But what if we soar? What if this brings our community together in a way we've never experienced? The murmurs quieted as she swept her gaze over their faces. Fear, yes. But also intrigue. Yes, she could feel the sparks of hope beginning to flicker. We owe it to ourselves to try. She leaned forward, her voice cracking slightly, revealing the vulnerability beneath her determined facade. I've been where some of you are. I know what it's like to feel unseen. But together we can be the change. We can show our town what is possible. The room began to transform. A few hesitant smiles surfaced, and slowly, the heavy air began to lift. "Yeah!" Joanna shouted, pumping her fist. "Let's give it a shot." As if on cue, others started clapping, at first hesitantly, then with increasing energy. Laura's heart soared. Maybe they could confront the doubt. Maybe they could build something remarkable out of the uncertainty. "Let's talk logistics," someone called out, breaking the wave of enthusiasm. They fell into discussions and brainstormed ideas like a well-oiled machine. Each person brought unique perspectives, pooling their strengths to nurture and build on Laura's vision. But even as plans materialized, lingering whispers echoed in her mind. What about trust? The core of her new community relied on it, yet she felt the cracks in the foundation deepening. Laura was not naive, she sensed fractures forming between the naysayers and the dreamers within the group. She couldn't let discontent breed. As they wrapped up for the night, Laura lingered behind, her heart heavy. Outside, the chill air kissed her cheeks, and she pulled her coat tighter around herself. The slight tremors of doubt crept back. What if they couldn't stick together in tough times? What if scattered loyalty unraveled everything? "Hey!" It was Tom, striding toward her. "You really stirred the pot in there." She offered a weak smile. "I'm glad, but I fear what's lurking beneath the surface. We just sparked a fire, but what if the flames go out?" Tom nodded thoughtfully. "It's up to you, Laura. You can lead them to trust again. Find common ground, weave their worries into a tapestry of hope." It struck a chord within her, a realization that her mission extended beyond mere logistics. She had to cultivate connections, lay seeds of trust before they could sprout into something magnificent. With renewed resolve, she squared her shoulders. "Then I'll find a way to bridge this divide. But I can't do it alone." Tom gave her an encouraging nod. "Let's meet tomorrow. I need your ideas, all of them." Just as they turned to leave, Laura felt a shift, a change in her spirit. She was not just a maid anymore. No, she carried dreams, hopes, and a community's heart. But would each member of that community still be willing to rise with her, or would someone's words pull them apart? The answers loomed nearby, shrouded in mystery. Laura felt anxiety and excitement swirling together. Was she prepared to uncover the truth? The next morning, Laura woke early, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and the remnants of anxiety from the night before. The sun peeked through her window, casting bright patterns across her humble room. She took a deep breath, allowing the warmth of the light to wash over her. Today had to be the day she brought people together. After a quick breakfast, she grabbed her notebook filled with ideas, sketching plans for bringing the community closer. With every stroke of her pen, she imagined laughter, collaboration, and a renewed sense of belonging. But lurking in the back of her mind were the doubts that people might not see it the same way. As she arrived at the community center, Laura noticed a few familiar faces milling about. She waved hello, but unsure if her spirits would be met with enthusiasm or skepticism. Her stomach twisted into knots. Would they really show up for her? Tom was already there, unloading a heap of chairs from his truck. Seeing him made her heart lift a little. They quickly began setting up the room, arranging chairs in a large circle to create a sense of unity. Soon, the room filled with people. They trickled in slowly, more hesitant than eager. Laura's pulse quickened as she met their eyes, searching for encouragement. Each face told a story of its own, some brave, some weary. "Good morning, everyone," she called out, hoping to set a warm tone. "I'm so glad to see all of you. We're here to share, to build, and to dream together." A few heads nodded, and to her relief, Joanna was the first to cheer, her enthusiasm infectious. "Let's do this, Laura." As Laura shared her vision, a community garden, where each person could plant their roots together, she felt that familiar tingling of hope again. She wanted them to visualize what could happen, the lives they could touch. Imagine children playing, neighbors sharing recipes, and everyone feeling connected. But just as she began to see eyes light up, a voice from the back slipped through the air like ice. "That sounds great, but what if it fails?" It was Zach, a long-time resident who'd been skeptical about everything new in this town. Laura squared her shoulders, ready to face this challenge head-on. "What if it does fail, Zach? But what if we discover something beautiful in the process? What if the friendships forged out there are worth every risk?" The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement. For a moment, the air crackled with hopeful energy, and the community seemed on the verge of a breakthrough. But Laura could feel the weight of uncertainty hanging in the balance. If they were united, she would need their trust not just in her, but in each other. "Let us divide into teams," she suggested, her voice steady. "We can brainstorm ideas, make plans, and each of you can bring your strengths. Every voice matters." The room began to shift. People broke into small discussions. Laughter bubbled up in pockets, and the initial fragmentation began to dissolve. As she drifted from group to group, Laura felt the positive currents flowing, people sharing expertise, crafting ideas, and painting a picture of a united future. But as the clock ticked away, she noticed that while some teams buzzed with excitement, others were still hesitant, casting glances toward the back where Zach still stood aloof. A small knot of uncertainty coiled in Laura's stomach again. She knew challenges lay ahead, not just in logistics, but in hearts. When the time came to regroup and share ideas, some groups overflowed with inspiration, while others felt hollow, their suggestions weak. Laura's heart sank as she looked at Zach. Preventing him from pulling the others down would be crucial now. "Zach, how about you share what you think we should change?" she encouraged, her tone brimming with warmth. The challenge now felt heavier than before. Could she really harness everyone's individuality, bring harmony to the disjointed? How could she ensure that not only the hopeful voices sang but that every note mattered? The struggle of maintaining collective trust loomed over her. Would she succeed in bringing them all together, or would lurking doubts fracture the community before it even began? Laura's resolve simmered, her heart beating fiercely. Holding on to her voice was crucial, but was it enough for the healing? The answers felt like they were just out of reach, dangling in the air like a mirage, waiting for someone to grasp them. As she looked out into the gathering, a new layer of uncertainty pressed down on her soul. Would she truly be the healer, the bridge? The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her next words. Laura inhaled deeply, gathering her thoughts. The room was still, all eyes on her, waiting for something: hope, clarity, a path forward. She sought to channel the energy flowing in the circle, to spark a fire that could unite them against the shadows of doubt. "Zach," she said, addressing him directly, seeking the right words, "you raise an important concern, and I value your honesty. It's natural to worry about failure. We've all been there." A few heads nodded in agreement. But what's important is how we respond to that fear. If we focus on the what-ifs that hold us down, we might miss the chance to create something beautiful together. The air shifted as a few people began to murmur, the tension easing just slightly. She felt it. It was the first crack in the wall of uncertainty. "I want to ask each of you to think about your own what-ifs. But instead of worrying, how about we turn those into what-could-bes," she suggested, searching their faces for encouragement. "What could be if we support each other, share our strengths? What could be if we treat this as a team effort?" Laura turned her gaze to the small cup of soil set at the front of the table, a simple but significant symbol. "We are all like these seeds. With care, attention, and love, we can sprout and thrive together. But we have to plant the seeds together." A nervous chuckle floated through the crowd, an unmistakable release of pent-up energy. She noticed a flicker of understanding in Zach's expression, and hope swelled in Laura's chest. "Let us brainstorm those ideas now. Everyone brings something unique to the table. We've got gardeners, cooks, artists. Let us lean into each other's talents," she encouraged. The groups broke again, energy buzzing around the room once more. Laura moved around, listening, laughing, filling the air with a sense of shared purpose. Thumbs up and whispers filled the spaces between conversations, and for the first time, she felt a trust beginning to form. As the gathering continued, Laura overheard snippets: someone proposing flower beds for the garden, another suggesting a summer barbecue to celebrate their progress. But through it all, she could still see Zach lingering at the edge, his skepticism ghosting around him like a shadow. She approached him, trying to gauge his thoughts. "What do you think, Zach? How can we make this better?" His gaze shifted from the excitement swirling around to Laura. He hesitated before speaking. I don't know how far this will go. It's easy to dream big, but the reality often stings." Understanding filled her. "And you're right. It does sting. But that's why we're here, to face it all together. Can't we at least try? We'll stumble, but falling doesn't mean we can't get back up." The corner of Zach's mouth twitched, a hint of a smile breaking through, but his brow remained furrowed. "What if you get tired of fighting this fight?" Laura took a moment, choosing her words carefully. "Then you all help me stand. That's what community is for, isn't it? Supporting one another." He stared at her, as if searching her soul for a hint of doubt. "But how can we trust each other when we've been isolated for so long?" She took his question to heart. "Trust takes time. This is just the beginning. What we can do is be honest. If something isn't working, let's talk about it. It's about growing and healing together, Zach. I believe we can do that." Laura left him pondering, confidence buoying her steps as she moved back into the lively discussions around the room. The murmurs grew louder, punctuated by bursts of laughter. Encouragement hung in the air like fresh flowers, and she cherished every hopeful blossom. Eventually, it was time to regroup again. Everyone returned to their seats, and Laura's heart raced when she saw the spark in people's eyes. It was different now. Hope was lifting their spirits. As ideas were shared, one brave soul stood up, sharing their vision of a community festival to celebrate their new unity. Applause broke out, and the excitement crackled like electricity. Yet, just as she felt a breakthrough, she noticed a shift. Zach stood, the tension returning to his face. "What if we put all this energy into something that doesn't pan out? What happens then?" Laura felt her heart tighten again. How could she reassure him amidst all this hope? She pondered her response, the weight of his question hanging heavily in the air, as the atmosphere shifted once more. Would they be able to truly bridge their differences? As everyone looked back at her, questioning, she knew the answer hung in the balance. The real challenge wasn't just about planting those seeds, it was about nurturing them together despite the doubt. With a deep breath, she met their hopeful gazes and prepared to share her thoughts. Could she really lead them toward true unity? The room was poised for her response as her mind raced with possibilities. And then she realized, the real question wasn't just about them accepting her vision. It was whether she could accept the unexpected journey that lay ahead. The room held its breath, the weight of Zach's question hanging in the air as Laura steadied herself. She noticed the eager faces flickering with uncertainty, and she felt the knots tightening in her gut. This moment mattered more than just words, it was a chance to bind hearts together, to plant trust deep in their unsuspecting soil. "Zach," she began, her voice steady but warm, "what if it does pan out? What if we surprise ourselves? We can't let fear dictate our paths. Doubt is part of the process, but so is courage. Every step we take can be a step toward something beautiful." He opened his mouth to respond, but she pressed on, fueled by an urgency that took her by surprise. "I know it's scary. But remember, the journey is what makes it valuable. If we focus on what can go right, we're already on our way to creating something worthwhile." Zach's contemplative look transformed, just slightly. She could see that her words were stirring something in him, battling against the skepticism that held him captive. "Let us not just think about how we might stumble, let us picture how we can rise. What if, instead of putting one foot in front of the other in fear, we leap forward together? A spark lit in Zach's eyes, and a few others shifted in their seats, nodding slightly. Encouraged, Laura took a step closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. Imagine that festival. Picture the laughter, the people gathering, sharing their gifts and talents, each contributing a unique piece to the tapestry of our community. What if we create something that not only elevates us but connects generations? Slowly, the tension in the room began to thaw. Voices rose as people began to share ideas again, weaving them together like strands of a beautiful pattern. One woman chimed in, "Yes. We could have a local farmers market to highlight our growers, a talent show to showcase our artists." Each suggestion ignited enthusiasm and laughter, and Laura felt the room pulse with renewed purpose. She saw Zach's expression shift too, a mixture of wariness and intrigue. But could we really?" he finally said, vulnerability threading his voice. "Of course, we can," Laura shot back, her conviction striking like a bell. "But it's a team effort. Every voice counts. What if someone drops the ball?" he pressed. "What if we end up disappointed?" "Then we talk about it," Laura replied firmly. "We support one another through those moments, just like we're doing now. Every experience, even the painful ones, can teach us something, can strengthen our resolve." The crowd grew restless with anticipation, murmurs rising again as hope blossomed like daffodils in spring. Laura felt ready to take a leap. "We're no longer isolated. We are a team already, we just didn't know it yet. And it's time we put our hands together." Then someone shouted, "Together." They laughed, a ripple of voices blending, a montage of urgency and possibility that filled the air with excitement. Laura felt a warmth radiate through her. Was this how it felt to connect with others on a deeper level? To take their hands, to guide them through uncertainty? Each of them was carving a path to something greater than the fear that had lingered in the corners. Just as optimism swelled, the door creaked open, pulling everyone's attention. A newcomer hesitated at the entrance, her wide eyes scanning the enthusiastic crowd. In a split second, Laura's heart raced. Who was this? "Hey, is this the meeting for the community project?" the newcomer asked, a tentative smile breaking her shyness. And just like that, the room shifted again, electricity sparking new ideas. Laura could feel the potential bubbling beneath her skin, waiting to burst forth. Would this new arrival add more weight to their bond or redefine it entirely? As the newcomer stepped inside with a hint of uncertainty, Laura couldn't help but wonder how each new person might shift the balance of their journey. What stories would come to life next? Laura's heart raced as she studied the newcomer, whose uncertain smile barely masked her nerves. A buzz of whispers filled the room again, the shifting energy palpable. It was as if the crowd was piecing together a puzzle, each hint of involvement drawing them closer. "What's your name?" Laura called out, her voice bright and inviting. I'm Mia," the girl replied, fidgeting with the edge of her shirt. "I just moved here, and I heard about this meeting from a friend." "Welcome, Mia." Laura smiled, sensing the warmth of her presence. "We're brainstorming a community project, a festival to bring us all together. You're in the right place." Mia's brow furrowed as she absorbed Laura's enthusiasm. "That sounds great, but I'm not sure what I can contribute. I'm new, and I just feel a bit out of my league." Laura took a step forward, lowering her voice again. "Everyone starts somewhere. Your fresh perspective could be just what we need. What do you enjoy doing?" A flicker of hope crossed Mia's face. "Well, I used to help organize events back in my last town. I loved planning with local vendors and artists to create a space for everyone." "Exactly." Laura grinned. "We need your experience. Imagine what we can do together. You can help us identify local talent and vendors here." Mia's cheeks flushed a bright pink as the room turned its focus to her. The weight of all those curious eyes could have overwhelmed her, but instead, it sparked something within. "Okay," she said, tentative but willing. I think I could help with that. Applause erupted, infectious excitement radiating through the crowd. The atmosphere shifted again as people welcomed Mia. It was proof that adding a new voice didn't just spin the tale, but weaved vibrant threads of narrative together. As the conversations flourished around Mia, Laura felt a surge of gratitude for the risk she had taken to summon this gathering. Together, they were a symphony, harmonizing influences that could create something greater than any single note. Zach leaned closer to Laura. I think Mia could change everything. She brings so much potential. Absolutely, Laura agreed, her heart swelling with pride for their emerging unity. Everyone has something unique to add. Just then, a voice cut through the chatter. But what if we don't have enough time? What if we can't pull this off by the summer? It was an older man, anxiety creasing his forehead. Even if we stumble, we'll pick ourselves back up, Laura reassured him, her resolve firm. We make mistakes, yes, but we can navigate as we go. Remember, we're in this together. Some nodded, but others remained skeptical. Laura felt the push and pull of doubt creep back into the cracks of their excitement. Yes, this journey was precious, but what of the risks? What strongholds would they need to dismantle? What if it fails? A woman with deep concern etched on her face asked. What about the disappointment? The room quieted, each face reflecting their fears, their shared uncertainties. The higher spirits from moments prior dimmed slightly under the realities of compromise. Laura had to act fast. But imagine the story we'll create, regardless of the outcome. Even if it doesn't go perfectly, we'll share the laughter and lessons. Those moments will strengthen us. Just as Laura finished speaking, she felt a tightening knot in her stomach, mixed emotions swirling like the incoming tide. Would they be able to weave their fears into hopes as they took their first steps together? Mia raised her hand again, catching Laura's eye. I want to be part of this, to help. But I want to make sure we take those first steps confidently. Can we come up with a plan? Absolutely. Laura exclaimed, her heart lightening again. Let us work together on a timeline and each task. As discussions revived, a sense of renewed purpose wrapped around Laura and the others. They began to sketch out ideas, jotting down tasks that grounded their dreams into reality, but as their voices rose, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that they were teetering on the brink of something deeper. A thought gnawed at the back of her mind, what hidden talents could still be waiting in the wings, unrecognized. Just then, the door opened again, and this time, it wasn't just a newcomer. It was a familiar face, one that sparked hope but also struck fear, a figure that could either lift them higher or threaten the fragile trust that had just begun to take form. Hey everyone, the stranger said with a smirk. I heard there's a party in here. Mind if I interrupt? Laura's heart launched into her throat. Who would this newcomer really be? Would his presence break their fragile bond, or could he be the ally they never knew they needed? Laura's breath caught in her throat as she processed the figure standing in the doorway. The smirk on his face held a mixture of mischief and confidence, instantly drawing the attention of the group, who shifted uneasily. Whispers danced through the air, a mix of curiosity and wariness. Mason? Zach's voice was low, a hint of recognition mixed with dread. Laura's heart thudded. She hadn't seen Mason since high school, and even then, their encounter was shaky at best. He carried an air of entitlement, wrapped in a designer jacket that seemed at odds with the community spirit they were trying to foster. Long time no see, huh? Mason stepped further into the room, casually glancing around as if examining a gallery wall. What's this? A little gathering of the underdogs trying to make a mark? His eyes sparkled with challenging humor, but there was a subtle undercurrent that made the hairs on her arms rise. Laura could feel the tension rising amongst her neighbors. The lively energy they had just built seemed to falter, dropping into an uncomfortable uncertainty. She forced herself to meet Mason's gaze, firming her voice. We're planning a community festival, actually. It's a chance for everyone to come together. "Oh, I know what a community festival means," he replied, tilting his head with an exaggerated expression. "Fun for the little people?" Murmurs swept through the room. Laura's hands clenched at her side, but this wasn't going to be a moment of defeat. She had fought too hard for this project to let it slip away in the face of snarky comments. "Mason, this is about unity. It's not a place for the little people but for our entire town to celebrate and connect. Everyone here has something to offer." The strength in her voice surprised even her. Mason cocked an eyebrow, amusement dancing on his lips. "And what does someone like you think you can offer?" At that moment, she felt a wave of solidarity from the crowd. It was as if they instinctively leaned forward, ready to defend their shared dream. Mia stepped bravely into the gap created by Mason's derision, a fierce glint in her eyes. "Actually, we're all bringing our unique skills together. We've got artists, musicians, and organizers." Laura watched as her small group grew energized again, rallying behind Mia's confident declaration. Conversations revived. They were no longer just a collection of uncertain individuals but a unified team pushing back against doubt. "So, what's your perfect plan then?" Mason challenged, crossing his arms, his playful demeanor fading slightly. Mia glanced at Laura, who nodded. "We're all brainstorming ideas right now. Do you want to join us?" "Me? In a community project?" Mason's expression shifted to mock disbelief. "What's in it for me?" She opened her mouth to respond but stopped short. "Maybe you just want to be a part of something bigger? People want to share this moment. It won't be just for little people or big people. It'll be for everyone." The challenge seemed to surprise him into silence. Laura could see the wheels turning in Mason's head. Someone in the back of the room added, "This matters, Mason. You could help us, instead of standing on the sidelines making fun." A moment of stillness enveloped the space. Would Mason take this as an invitation to connect, or would he retreat into his shell of arrogance? Mason shrugged, a flicker of something intriguity crossing his face. Maybe then it hit Laura like a wave. Just maybe, this was the change they needed. She sensed that what had started as a joke could pivot, be redirected into real engagement. Maybe Mason had gifts to share that would surprise them all. Could he become a true part of the festival, or would he remain stuck as the critic from the sidelines? "Why don't you come back and see? We're meeting regularly now," Laura proposed, hoping desperately that he'd take the bait. "Fine," he said, the hint of a smirk returning. "I'll think about it. But I hope you all have a better plan than this nonsense." As Mason turned toward the door, the atmosphere shifted again, an electric potential crackling in the air. Laura exchanged glances with Mia, Zach, and the others. Their journey was far from over, and yet they had taken a step closer to forging a real bond, one that could withstand even the snark of their past ties. But as the door swung closed behind Mason, a sudden chill swept through the room. The shadows of doubt crept back, reminding Laura that changes didn't come without risk. What did this twist mean for their vision? And would they truly have what it took to keep the magic alive in the face of skepticism? Laura took a deep breath. They still had work to do, but now the stakes felt higher. Would they rise stronger together or fracture under the weight of new challenges ahead? The days that followed felt different. Laura watched as the festival planning sessions began to take a life of their own. Ideas flowed freely, and the energy in the room was palpable. The group filled the local community center with sketches, music playlists, and enthusiasm that held the promise of transformation. But each time her thoughts drifted to Mason, a knot tightened in her stomach. What if he showed up? Did he have anything worthwhile to contribute, or was he just a dark cloud hanging over their hopeful plans? During one brainstorming session, the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the chatter, and laughter punctuated their discussions. Mia had come up with a plan to feature local artists, which ignited excitement amongst them. Laura had just started sketching out ideas for a parade when she heard someone clear their throat at the doorway. Turning, her heart skipped. There stood Mason, hands shoved in his pockets, as if summoning all his bravado. He looked more casual today, no designer jacket, just a plain shirt that seemed almost humble. "Hey, did I miss the parade planning?" Laughter erupted from the group, shattering the earlier tension. Laura couldn't help but smile as Mia waved him in. "Not yet. We're just getting started." Mason's face held a hint of uncertainty as he stepped further in. It was clear he didn't expect this warm reception. "So, tell me, what do you need? I guess I'm willing to give it a shot." The atmosphere shifted again, but this time it was charged with something magnetic. The flicker of cautious hope ignited amongst them. Laura nodded, taking a breath to keep her nerves in check. "Actually, we could use some help with marketing. You've got connections, don't you?" A flash of surprise crossed Mason's face before he shrugged, but a small grin hinted at the corners of his mouth. "I suppose I could use my big person skills." Everyone laughed again, and that laughter seemed to weaken the invisible walls that had kept them apart. Laura felt lighter. For the first time since he had walked through that door, there was a flicker of possibility, a hint of promise. As they discussed ideas, Mason surprised everyone with thoughts that made them reconsider venue options and event layouts. Laura's eyes sparkled with hope. Could this actually work? She caught Mason's eye, and he didn't look smug or distant. Instead, there was a softness there. A vulnerability maybe? "You know," he said, "I always thought these little projects were just, I don't know, pointless. But this? Looks like it really matters to you all." His tone was genuine, and Laura believed every word. Just then, Zach leaned back in his chair. "This isn't just our project, Mason. It's our chance to show what our town can do." The moment lingered, rich with emotion. They were not just organizing a festival, they were weaving a fabric of unity that Mason might be starting to understand. The thoughts playing behind his eyes spoke of shifting perspectives. Laura couldn't help but feel exhilarated by the transformation. Perhaps this was the surprise they needed, not just the festival's promise but the unexpected shift in someone who had once looked down on them all. As the discussions continued, an energy pulsed through the room, and ideas spiraled into exciting plans. But just as the excitement started building momentum, Mason's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced down, and the smile faded. I need to take this. I'll be right back," he muttered, hurrying out into the hallway. The group exchanged glances filled with mixed emotions. Would he come back? Laura looked at the team gathered around her, faces flushed with anticipation. They were ready for anything, and yet a shadow of uncertainty loomed. The bond they had formed felt fragile. Could it withstand yet another interruption? As the silence stretched, Laura felt the weight of hope blossoming in her chest. Were they truly on the brink of something monumental? Or was this just another step toward disappointment? The door remained ajar, waiting as if it might open to reveal whether Mason would step back into their journey, or close entirely on what could have been. Laura stood in the community center, feeling a palpable tension as she waited for Mason to return. The buzz of excitement surrounding their festival plans hung in the air, but uncertainty prickled at her like a distant storm. She glanced around at the faces of her neighbors, now transformed into friends, just as she was transforming herself. The laughter and ideas tumbled forth, creating a beautiful tapestry of dreams woven together by their shared effort. But Mason's presence hung like a delicate thread, ready to snap at any moment. Would he come back to join them, or would he retreat to the comfort of his old life, leaving them to navigate this unknown terrain alone? Time ticked slowly, every second stretching like an elastic band teetering on the brink of breaking. Finally, the door creaked open again. Mason walked in, his expression serious, yet he had a new light in his eyes. "Sorry about that," he said. "Just had to deal with some matters." Laura's heart raced. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just some family stuff," he replied, glancing around the room. "But I could hear you guys talking through the door. You're serious about this festival, huh? Incredibly serious, Laura said, determination in her voice. This is our opportunity to bring everyone together. He stepped further into the room, shedding an air of pretense, his posture shifting from the aloofness of before. What is the next step? The question was a spark, igniting the room anew. The laughter returned, flowing like water as people dove into discussions around logistics. With each voice that chimed in, the community grew stronger, and Mason found a place among them, contributing ideas even as hesitation tripped him up. Laura watched, her heart swelling with pride and hope. This was transformation. Mason wasn't just a newcomer, he was becoming part of their family. They were all combining their strengths, igniting a change that would ripple through the town. As they finalized plans, the atmosphere shifted to one of camaraderie and burgeoning friendships. It felt right, but Laura held on to a thread of caution. We're still going to need to reach out to local businesses, she reminded them. Their involvement is key. Leave that to me, Mason said confidently, flashing a genuine smile. I can help get sponsorships and contacts. I might know a few people who'd be interested. Laura blinked, a smile blooming on her lips. Wow, that would be amazing. With Mason now fully on board, the team rallied around him, their laughter and ideas meshing together seamlessly. It was almost surreal. The festival, once merely a dream, now had the potential to become something monumental, yet, in the corners of the room, shadows lingered. What if someone didn't accept this transformation? What if doubts crept back in when challenges arose? Laura needed to address that fear head-on. She stood up, capturing everyone's attention. We're on the brink of something incredible, but we must remember that this isn't just about the festival. It's about rebuilding trust and community. We might face bumps along the way, but together, we can tackle any obstacle. The group nodded, the fervor of hope pooling in their hearts like a warm blanket. As the days flew by, preparations intensified. The festival was shaped into reality, booths lined with fresh local produce, a stage for musicians, dedicated areas for family games, every detail infused with love and effort. Laura felt the energy uplifting her spirit, as if each heartbeat echoed the surge of connection among her neighbors. Then came the day of the festival. A vibrant tapestry of colors adorned the town square. The air thrummed with excitement, the laughter of children, the wafting scent of food, and the sound of music swaying through the horizon. Laura stood at the entrance, her heart fluttering like a butterfly. She spotted Mason, engaging with vendors and helping to set up. A smile spread across her face. This was real progress. As the day unfolded, she marveled at what they had created together. Families gathered, old rivalries faded, and new friendships bloomed. Even those who had doubted joined in, the camaraderie painting over previous grievances. Look at this, a neighbor whispered to another, eyes sparkling with joy. Who would have thought we could pull it off? Laura felt a warm pull at her heartstrings. Moments like these made every sleepless night, every doubt worthwhile. They weren't just building a festival, they were healing wounds, forging a bond that would last long after the last song faded. As dusk began to settle, Laura stood before the gathered crowd, her heart pounding. She felt a rush of gratitude. This was her moment, a culmination of all they had worked to achieve. Thank you, everyone, she said, voice strong. Today is not just about fun, it's a celebration of a new chapter. We've shown that we can come together, rely on one another, and uplift our community. Let this be the first of many steps toward unity. The collective cheer was deafening, and she felt tears well up in her eyes, tears of joy and pride. In that magical moment, standing surrounded by friends and family, Laura recognized something powerful. She had changed, and so had everyone with her. They had forged a new identity as a community, proud to uplift one another. As the festival light twinkled around them, Laura knew she could finally breathe. It was not just a moment of victory for her, it was a journey that each of them had dared to take together. And looking ahead, she knew the path was wide open, rich with promise. Hey, Mason said, appearing at her side and catching her glance. You did all this? No, Laura smiled, heart overwhelmed, we did this together. And in that shared realization, they both knew the best transformations often sprouted from unity, forging new paths in lives once wrapped in shadows. Don't wait not even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch all the exclusive stories we're bringing your way. Hit that like button to fuel the algorithm and let it know you want more. And comment below, tell me your reactions to this incredible transformation. Share this amazing journey with at least 5 friends who are searching for hope and inspiration. This is the moment to show your support and spread the love.